Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Truth Podcast. Today, I have Wendi Michelle with me, and she is an entrepreneur, published author, precision wellness specialist, health advocate, food and supplemental formulator, and hope expert. Wendi deeply loves people, and it is written all over every project she puts her hands on. And it's no wonder she's become the go-to in health and wellness sector. Welcome to the show, Wendi.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I gave a little bit of information about you, and now I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about yourself and about your story.
Sure. So that really does pretty much sum up what I do for the most part. I think I'll expand a little bit on the precision wellness specialist piece, only because that's something that's not as well known. What that is it's pretty much a holistic wellness specialist, holistic meaning wholeness, so considering all things. My specialty is creating solutions for individual people based on their unique needs, utilizing everything from lab work to genetics to their epigenetics and so on. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I believe in unique significance of the individual and helping them to establish what is their own personal potential and what do they need for that. So it is complex and that there's a lot of moving parts, but I really believe that it's the only way we can, as people, establish what we're capable of doing. So I do that, and then that has turned into other things. So that kind of bleeds out into formulations. So obviously, as I work with clients and I've coached clients, I've found that there's some gaps in the industry, in the supplement industry, in the food industry, in the optimization wellness industry. And wherever I see a gap, I usually see a solution, and then it turns into a company. So that's, or a project, or I find somebody who's doing it and then I champion them. It's really about getting all of the tools possible for anybody that I interact with to be able to utilize and know that I've vetted it and really researched it deeply, which is something I also feel is missing in the fitness and health industry, is who can we trust really? Because now, there's definitely no lack of information, but what information can we and should we utilize? So that's a little bit broader version of what I do. And hopefully that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. There was
Great.
a lot of things in there. You were talking about, there's a lot out there, but who do we trust, and what message do we trust, and what information do we trust? That's key, because I think we're more in an information overload stage now when it comes to wellness.
Oh, 100%. I say that often. One of the analogies that I use is referring to, if you go to Whole Foods or some of these, more considered healthy marketplaces, if you just watch how people shop, you'll see they have this kind of this glossed look in their eyes where they know they're hopefully in the right place, but now what? Now what do they do? And there is so much spent on the marketing and creating an appearance of health. That's pretty much what Instagram is, right? It's an appearance of something. And so in the food industry, and I feel like I can speak to that because I'm also in the food industry, there's a lot that goes into the marketing of these products. And how do we convey to the consumer health? Or I don't do this, but other people do this. How do we distract from the back label? Let's get the product in the cart before they read the back label. And that's the part that really bothers me. And it is information overloaded. There is too much out there for anybody to really sort through, even me. I also stand in those aisles with a glossed look in my eyes. Wow. Often.
It's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise.
Absolutely.
And you have to absolutely know what you're looking for when it comes to healthy food, because everybody's going to shout from the rooftops about their particular thing and the way it's grown and the way it's this and the way, how it's organic or this and that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a kick out of it. It says, hey, it's all natural. Well, some poisons are all natural too, but you know.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, is there's a lot of gray areas in the industry, in labeling requirements, in sourcing, in what is considered quote unquote healthy and what is not. These things are changing consistently on a regulation level, and it makes it difficult for people like me who really want to provide simplified information for the consumer. It makes it difficult for us to stand out on the shelves because we're still having to compete with, you know, the glitz and the glam that is, you know, really getting the attention. So in addition to just what's bright and shiny, even if you're attempting to cut through the noise a bit, where do you go for that? And so everything that I do, every project that I put my hands on, all goes back to that desire of my heart for people, that there is the experts or the resources become less, and then they just represent more. So that way they can choose somebody that they feel comfortable to be their advisor, much like you would if you were doing financial advising or otherwise, and then ask that person who has a holistic, like a whole knowledge of all elements. And you don't have to outsource. How many different experts would you need in the health industry? You'd probably need 20 if you don't have somebody who's doing precision. Yes.
Because you have the exercising training aspect of it, like the gym portion, the nutrition portion, the, you know, even people that study sleep, you know, and how we breathe and how, I mean, all these things are factors. But to cut through everybody with the, you know, like the white signs and stuff like that or whatever. Hey, look at me.
Yes, absolutely.
That type of thing. And I see what you're saying. There's a lot out there, and because it's so popular and it's such a big industry with a lot of money in it, that means that more people want to go into that space and say, look at this. And it's almost like a magician. Look over here so you don't see what's over here.
That is the industry in a nutshell.
Unfortunately.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Can we eat the nutshell, or is that? No, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. But it comes down to, a lot of different things. You were mentioning genetics and all these other factors, you know, in your health, in your fitness and things like that. Can you explain a little bit more about that portion?
Sure. So it's one element of, or I would say one arm of our health that often gets ignored. It's relatively new. So in all fairness, it's an emerging space of wellness. You know, we can get some pretty good data on our genetics, but the interesting piece is not talked about as much, is that our genetics are really just a blueprint. They're a potential, but they aren't necessarily what we're going to operate in. It's our epigenetics that determines how our genetics gets expressed.
What is epigenetics? I need to know that.
Yeah, epigenetics is the environment in which your genes are expressed.
Okay.
So, and that's really what will establish how the DNA unfolds and whether or not it actually will express, say, diabetes or a certain type of cancer. And to me, epigenetics is very exciting because that's evidence that we have a lot more power to choose how we optimize or how we live our lifestyle. We can choose whether or not the things that were an issue for our grandparents or our aunts or uncles, we can choose now, is that, do we want that for us? Do we want that for the next generation? And that factor has to do with everything from your living space. So the environment of your living space, if there's any, you know, toxins or molds or things like that that could be affecting your genetic expression, how you sleep, how you eat. It's huge. What you choose to eat, you really are what you eat. There's information being shared between the food that you consume and the cells of your body. And that information is establishing how will this particular strand of DNA unfold itself and express itself. And our mindset, we know that our perception plays a role in how our DNA expresses itself. So, and we've seen that in the lab. So it's something that's very cool that when you can see a correlation between mindset and DNA expression, well, then things start to get really fun.
So I've heard a lot about this, so that's why I'm asking. I'm going to ask a few questions on this, but
sure.
You're basically saying that our mind has a lot more power over our diseases and things like that than we think.
Absolutely.
Maybe that
it's
was
a collection.
But then we know.
Yeah.
Than we think.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. It's all encompassing, and that's why I love what I do with being a precision wellness specialist, is that it's about the holistic elements. Right. It's about saying, okay, yes, please think positive, which it's a fun thing to talk about, and it can be very motivating to people. But when you can show them in a petri dish what happens when their positive thoughts meet a protein and then give instruction for the DNA expression, well, that's a whole other game,
Okay. We got to have that explained further. So, okay, you said how it affects protein in a petri dish. What happened? I mean, what was the study?
Yeah, so the study was, and Dr. Bruce Lipton is one of my favorites.
I've read his book.
He has a lot of biology of belief. He has a lot of
biology and belief. I read that.
Great books. He's the one who actually speaks on this topic a lot. And so if anyone listening wants to go into greater detail or depth on this, he is the resource. I'm definitely not the expert on this. I just know enough to know I need to implement it when I'm working with people or when I'm developing any products.
Totally blew me away. What a good book that was.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. Yeah. But basically it's when you pair, so what establishes how your DNA expresses itself is a protein or proteins. Again, this is, at every level, it's a different grouping. But when protein meets perception, meaning the hormones that are released. So what the study was is, if in this petri dish we just have, a DNA replicating itself, we have a cell replicating itself. But then when we add cortisol, the hormone, the stress hormone, to that factor, the expression or the cellular division changes in a not so positive way. But then when oxytocin is added to it, the expression or the cellular division changes in a way that is really positive.
Wow.
So there's a significant influence on how our DNA expresses itself based on the hormones. The hormones are coming from direction of the body. If you perceive stress, I'm going to be uncomfortable here. I hate my job. Like, let's just, you could run through the whole day and think about how many thoughts go through your mind that trigger a cortisol release versus the thoughts that you have that trigger or would be conducive to a non-cortisol release, or ideally like a release of oxytocin. So it's those thoughts that turn into the instruction, that turn into the hormone that then affects and influences the expression of your DNA.
Wow. Very well said.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Again, to go to Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's definitely
it's a difficult topic.
Better.
You did really well. You did really well. It's a tough topic. So we're talking about thoughts and in feeling, really, and how that affects your overall health, how it can, I know a lot about this, and I don't want to go too far, but I think that it's safe to say that in every area of our life, if we think more positively about situations and we try to live in love and live in the higher vibrations, the better off we're going to be.
Absolutely.
So, so we talked about a little bit about epigenetics, but I mean, what are the other realms that you deal with as a holistic type of approach to someone's health?
Sleep, water, environment, obviously mental fortitude, so resiliency in processing. I'm a bit of a biohacker, so I love, nootropics and optimizing the brain.
Nice.
Yeah, so those things, it's really every element of the human body that you can think of. Obviously movement, movement is very important, whether it's
Yes.
strength training or cardiovascular work or whatever. And again, this is all individualized. It really depends on the person. Genetics can tell us a lot about what's going to be more successful for them based on their goals,
Right.
in their movement practices and in their eating styles or the diet of choice. It's not the end all be all, but it does give us some clues. And hormones. I talk a lot about hormones. It's essential to optimal wellness. And it really boils down to what is the goal of the person. If the person has a goal of being a successful entrepreneur and the gym isn't, or they don't feel the gym is an option for them, what else can they do to implement movement and still maintain the goal that they have for that given month or that year or whatever? And there's a lot of little hacks you can do that will help you to run alongside your physical personal goals and your career goals. And I feel like the industry makes it sound like you have to do a lot of things on the side of personal, like you have to be in the gym for an hour and a half a day, and you have to eat in such a way that it's going to take you a lot of time. And those things just aren't true. If you try to blanket everybody under one subject, then yes, it's going to be kind of like black or white. Either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. But when you can get very precise, there's a lot of fun little things you can do to help somebody achieve, every goal that they have.
That's really nice. You were mentioning something about sleep, and I know it's all individualized. Do we have a different clock, would you say, in each person, as in how much sleep they need?
Yes. So there is a genetic marker that they have found that indicates some people can be just as functional and actually function better on a reduced amount of sleep. And when I say reduced, I don't mean 2 hours, which I'm sure a lot of people are hoping I'm going to say.
I was.
Especially on this podcast. I'm sure people are like, just tell me that the 4 hours is enough.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, no, I can't say that. But 6 hours, 6 hours is something that some people seem to function just fine and recover and restore. And they're able to get through the sleep cycles a little bit more efficiently. And so their REM and their deep sleep is kind of optimized naturally. But that's not the bulk of people. Sleep is one of those things of all the things that we've discussed thus far that we really can't hack, and we really shouldn't, because we really need to kind of hang out with nature on that one, I feel like. And there is some element of, I think, mental wellness there, and just making it a priority to give yourself rest, and not pushing yourself all the time. Will there be all-nighters? Yes, 100%, especially if you're a business owner or if you are pursuing some significant goals. Should that be the general rule? No. You definitely need your sleep. You need your sleep. The people that look to you to be their leader, they need you to sleep. And the consumers, the people that your brand will affect at some point in life, they need you to sleep too, so you can make the best decisions.
Totally agree with that too. Do you feel like it's kind of a question I don't know if you know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you don't know, cool, you just don't know. But is it recommended do you feel like 8 hours is kind of the thing because everybody tells us that, or is it more? Or is it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you were saying 6 hours, and some people's enough, but it's not most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some people need 10. So 8 is an average.
10. I don't know if I could even do that.
And you may not need to, and that's the cool, but there's so many cool, like bio metric trackers that you can use. The Oura Ring is really cool. Whoop is really cool, where you're wearing it the whole time you're sleeping, and it's tracking your sleep, and you get a number in the morning, which is your heart rate variability, and it'll tell you how rested you are, and it'll actually give you a score, which is awesome, because then you can be like, oh, well, I seem to be in the green or get a good score when I land somewhere between 6 and 7 hours of sleep a night, so long as I don't have wine before bed. But when I have wine before bed, then that score goes down. So it helps to take that 8-hour average and really move it to the individual.
To optimize it.
Exactly.
So are these personal things you can get, or is this from a medical place, or where do you get the ring thing or whatever you were talking about?
Yeah, so those are personal. So Oura Ring, you can just, you can go right to their website and purchase it. Whoop is, obviously the Oura Ring is a ring. Whoop is a wristwatch, and it has so like the Whoop, I use the Whoop just because it's something that I'm trying this year.
Okay.
But it tracks your HRV, it tracks the percentage of the different areas of sleep that you're in. So your REM, your light sleep, your non-sleep, your awake times. But it also will, when you get to the gym, you set it on whatever you're about to do. So if you're going to, do cardiovascular work or strength train, you turn that on, and then it tracks your workout.
Wow.
It'll let you know like which heart rate zone you're in, and then how restored you are from it, and how much more you have left in the, let's call it like the gas tank, right? So based on your recovery score in the morning, it'll say, oh, you can peak perform today, go for, like a 17 or 18 performance. And when you finish the gym, it's like 14, it'll encourage you to, you've got some more, which I think is awesome.
I like that.
Yeah. Or the opposite, where it's like, hey, you didn't really recover very well. Why don't you plan for a nap?
Hey, dummy, sit down.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Yes. And I get that. I get that one a lot.
You set an
in all
alarm
honesty,
and
I
says,
get
hey,
that one a
dummy,
lot.
sit down.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah,
but it's good that what you're saying. That's amazing. That way you kind of know when your peak workout is really.
Yeah. It's an efficiency tool.
Yeah.
It helps, to remove I always talk about decision fatigue. It is a very real thing, and I have it a lot. The less I have to guess in my life, the less decisions I have to make, the more efficient I am at the important ones.
That's good.
Not having to guess about a workout or how recovered I am or whatever, and I could just look at a watch for that.
Do you think decision making is like a cumulative effect, where you got so many decisions, once you get to the real important ones, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, it absolutely is, which is why they say like Steve Jobs always wore the same outfit.
Wow.
One less thing to think about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until I was sharing with somebody in a maybe jokingly manner about how I don't like to figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner, because I feel like at that point in the day, it's inconsequential, and I'm done with decisions. So can somebody else please do that for me? And then I was told, oh yeah, that's why Steve Jobs used to wear the same outfit. Anything that seemed inconsequential, he tried to reserve his decision making for the things that moved the needle the most.
That's amazing. I mean, that's something I never even thought of before, and I think of a lot. And I hadn't thought of that. So I'm probably going to start implementing that, to be honest.
Yeah. Outsource the decisions that are inconsequential for you.
Right. To who?
Oh, that's the thing. You'll have to find a team, of people. So it just depends, the people around you.
I just found a team, so that's good.
Yeah. Great.
I'm going to go into water now.
Okay.
And the significance of how much we drink of water, how much, the type of water we should drink, those type of things. If you could go into that a little bit.
Sure. To me, I'm going to go back to nature for this one, which I tend to do a lot.
That's okay.
The design of nature is not a mistake. And I love science. I love science, and I am thankful for technology, look what we can do with it. It's so fun. But when it comes to food and water and the air we breathe and so on, nature has it right. I am a big fan of collecting spring water, which sounds like a lot of work, and it is. But there are resources that can actually bring spring water to your home if you can't or don't want to go out and, collect it yourself. I find there to be kind of a fun, like, hunting and gathering element to going out and getting water. Just like when it's different seasons and people go apple picking, or they, we'll go to various farmers markets. There's something about that, why it feels good, is we're like tapping into evolution and the productivity of supplying and providing food for our tribe, so to speak. Let's say you can't collect spring water or you don't have a company in the area that is doing it well that can bring it to you. The next best thing is spring water in glass at the store. So no plastic. There's just so many contaminants in the plastic. It's also not conducive to our environment, and it's not necessary. Glass bottles are the way to go. Darker the better. And then you can also buy water filters that will restructure the water. So chemically speaking, the water should be structured, which is done in a kind of like a vortex type pattern, which mimics the water running over rocks in a river, or coming up out of the spring. And so it's the structure of the water that becomes very similar, or the most similar, to the water in our bodies.
Is there like a machine that does that?
Mm-hmm.
Or?
Yeah. I can send you all the links for those things too.
Yes, of course. We'll put it all in the show notes on the bottom.
Because there's definitely some really innovative companies doing that.
So is there an amount
I'd love to help.
of water you should be intaking a day? And another question is there such a thing as too much?
Oh, I think there's such a thing as too much of everything.
Okay. I'm asking because, I want everybody to know, I don't want everybody going, oh, I need to drink all this water. They drink water.
There's definitely, you can definitely overdrink water. We're about balance. The body is about balance, and especially when it comes to water. So you need enough, but don't have too much. And the 8 glasses a day or 10 glasses a day there's really not like a lot of studies to substantiate that. So it's kind of an interesting thing. What I do with people is I figure out how much they're expending. So if they're going to the gym, like if they're an athlete, their water intake is going to need to be significantly more, and implementing electrolytes in addition to the water itself and minerals is important. But if they're not an athlete and they're sedentary and they're at a desk all day, how much water they need is going to differentiate. So we look at different things in the body and help them learn their body to know when they're hydrated, or when they're optimally hydrated, and when they're not, because there's a lot of cues the body will give us, but we are not as well tapped into them anymore as we once were.
Yeah, we have all this technology and all these things available to us, but yet we're further away from where we're supposed to be than ever, I think, in some ways. We're so stressed and we have so much to do, and there's so much work, and there's so much, things that we're trying to build and do, especially as entrepreneurs. So it's the slowing down that I think everybody has a hard time. I really do.
Yes, I agree with you.
I think I think that's a difficult thing for most people. Okay. So now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. On your journey of becoming an entrepreneur, have you had like internal or external struggles that kind of held you back? And if so, what were they and how did you overcome those?
The brands, or of a launch, or of a project. So I guess a few of them, or one of them specifically that I really struggled with was if I was doing the right things. And it's really important to me to maintain my character and integrity. And then when you start in business, and it's much easier to do when you're doing like one-on-one coaching, because you're not really, it's just kind of a different example of it. It's easier to do there. But when you start building things out and scaling them up, and you realize the marketing that is involved, and you get advised from people to maybe, we'll add a little bit of like more color here to the story, or, you can, don't worry, it's fine if you exaggerate, everybody does, and to me, it's so important that I maintain a level of who I am, because I'm longing to offer the space for people to know that when I share something, I can be trusted. So as soon as I start moving off that line into, well, I'll just exaggerate a little bit, then I'm potentially not as trustworthy. So that's really hard. I think that's going to always be a struggle for me. That's something that I didn't anticipate, though. Something that I thought, I was a bit naive to thinking I'll always just be able to, I'm just going to always get to be like, just like who I am. And I don't ever have to worry about, marketing myself, or it's not going to matter. Like the people that I'm supposed to reach, they'll just be there. And so that was cute. And, and sweet and innocent and honest. And there's parts of that I don't ever want to lose. I don't ever want to lose those elements, but at the same time, business is business, and things do need to get done, and you do need to compete. You have to compete.
No, I don't think you do. I generally don't disagree, but this I disagree on completely, because as people, as entrepreneurs, I think you're doing the right thing. I think you were being honest and trustworthy and telling the truth. And when we stop doing that, even for a little bit, we lose who we are. Competition. I may have like, I don't know how many podcasts there are out there, but do I consider that competition? I don't, because there's going to be people that resonate with me, my vibe, my voice, my message, the way I deliver that message. All the things that are inside of me is why people watch me. It's not why people watch somebody else,
Right.
So if I'm doing something and you're doing something, we're doing the same exact thing. We're both going to have a tribe, but we're both going to have a tribe of different people.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree with that.
In essence, there is no competition. Even though people are pressuring you and telling you to do this and that, you stick to who you are. Never change who you are, because then all of a sudden your business is a mirror for you, and your business becomes not ethical. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Yeah, and I totally agree with that, and especially in the standpoint of the coaching and the speaking and the author and that side of me, and the part that it really became, I guess there became more of an awareness, was in the food industry.
Oh yeah.
In which I'm creating, when I'm creating food. And so that when I say competition, I mean in that realm of my projects, is in the realm
I understand.
of, in the realm of, I'm doing things honestly and with transparency, and the internal struggle is, and the battle is, how do I make sure that my price point is still good, and I'm still maintaining the integrity and the honesty. It's a struggle because people don't do it. To get to a certain price point, you can't do it.
That.
So so I definitely feel like in that space it's been hard. But on the flip side, like on this side, like, I still stand in that innocent space of, I'm just doing me. So
yeah, and maybe I don't know you. I haven't met you till today. But you have a good heart, and you are definitely a person of integrity. And I think that maybe the slime of the industry, I might say, because I know it's there, that's the turnoff for you, so maybe it's not your thing,
Mm. Yeah.
That's not to be rude, but it's just,
No, not at all. I mean, and it's like I've definitely had that conversation with people before, about business. I mean, even some of my business partners will say, you're so good at what you do, the innovation, you're so good at innovation, but business, you have such a hard time with that. And it's true, because what I am for is for people.
yeah.
And I don't want to limit offerings because of the way that particular industry operates.
Right.
So
No,
to
totally.
me,
I do understand what you're saying. I
yeah.
just think that, do what your gut tells you to do.
Yes.
Don't waver from that.
Yeah.
No
Thank you for that reminder.
No matter how much pressure you get, because everything that you need is inside of you.
Yeah, I do believe that. I do believe that.
And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
Usually we give conversations like this for the audience, and this one was just for you in those last few minutes there or whatever. And hopefully somebody out there can resonate with that. You're in a business that has some people that are less than have less integrity than you do, that will lie, just say it like it is,
Yeah.
About their stuff and about their products, just to make it so that everybody believes that it's a wonderful thing when it really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to be in a space like that, have integrity, try to have everything transparent when the competition can do things that undercut you because they're using practices that aren't up to par. Put it that way. I'm trying to put it in the best terminology I can.
I know. No, and it makes perfect sense. It does. And I think a lot of people need to hear this. I think we need to encourage people to scale up and out and maintain their greatest characteristics. I think that what you've just said is going to resonate with a lot of people, because it's going to, if they aren't there, it might encourage them to get there. And if they are there, it will encourage them to stay.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
We talked, and I had a guest yesterday, and we talked about it, that where we feel like that a lot of the online space, a lot of entrepreneurs, this whole generation, our generation and the next one, have really changed the things that are happening right now. And it's more of a heart-based, thing. Like you said, you're just there for the people. And it's a lot of that going on right now. There's a lot of good people, really, really good people out there. Yeah. And the more of us that succeed, more of us that can get into those other positions and really change things around here, really change the world. And I think that you're one of those people. If you stand your ground, maybe you won't be the most successful, person in that industry, but do you really need all that? Or would you lose yourself to be a little more successful? I can't see that.
No, I don't feel like there's anything worth losing yourself over.
Absolutely.
I don't really believe that there is.
I don't either. I don't either. You're on the right path.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
You're on the right path there. So I want you to talk to people, because you have a heart for people. I know that. You also are in an industry that's really difficult for you. If someone was going to just start out and be an entrepreneur, and maybe even in that industry, which would be difficult, but what would your advice be to people just starting out?
I would advise them to create a foundation first, meaning get 1, ideally 3, 5 people around you that care about what you do, believe in what you do, and are honest enough to really be good quality advisors and not just say it. Like, I think a lot of the time it's when you get hyped up about an idea, you like people, like yes people around you. Yeah. And I would advise to not do that, and to get a board of directors, so to speak, for your you, to run things by and get them from different industries. So maybe one of them who's just a really great friend and will just give you the brutal honesty, and then one who's maybe has been successful and is ahead of you 10 years or so, and then maybe somebody who's just very analytical, and then somebody who's very emotional or something, so that you get like a good mix of feedback
and people that'll slap you around a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you really need, I really appreciate when people criticize me, it's a gift, because if they're my trusted advisors, because then when they compliment me, I trust it. If you've not criticized me,
that's true.
Then when you compliment me, I don't believe you.
Really? Well, I'm sorry. I'll have to be more harsh. I'm just kidding.
But I mean, it's like when you have the people around you who care about you enough to go, you can do better than this, or there's more in you than this. I love that blog you wrote, or I love that thing you did. I see more in you. Then when they come back and go, man, this was so great, I couldn't stop watching it, or I couldn't whatever, then that feels different. And I think having a board of trusted advisors is foundational and necessary. And that would be my number one advice. And then second, I would just, tell them, stay brave. It's like a wilderness.
Yeah.
And you have no compass, and you can only hope that what will guide you along, but it's barren sometimes, and it's harsh conditions, and sometimes you're not sleeping because you are walking through the night, trying to make your way through the dark, and you got to stay brave, and you have to be really about your mission, because if you aren't and you don't believe in what you're doing, you should probably just turn around now.
Yep. If you don't have a why, it's real difficult to keep going when it's dark and it's bad.
Yeah.
I think you also need, you said it, trusted advisors and stuff, but I also think you need people that'll support you when you're down, that you can talk, they'll talk you off the cliff.
Yes. Yeah. They should be in there. They should be part of that group.
Because,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's things that happen to people like me. A car engine died and all this other stuff happened. And, I got this person that was just really, really, I would say absolutely mean to me, and stuff. And I didn't take it real well, to be honest. And it really hurt. And I thought, maybe I'm not cut out to do all this and that stuff. And you always have those thoughts, that, oh, man, But one thing I do think also is entrepreneurs, even though we're surrounded by a lot of people, we feel alone.
Yes.
Because we're blazing a trail, or we're going on a path that we have to figure it out basically on our own. I mean, we have advisors, we have people that help us, but the ultimate decision is up to us. And so it makes it kind of a lonely place to be, even though you have people surrounding you. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying that inside it's a lonely feeling. When you were saying the desolate wilderness type thing, and I was like, oh, I'm getting that 100%.
Yeah. You're like, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in days.
I eat today.
But yeah, I mean, I think that you definitely need people to affirm, because people who have, talents and gifts and stuff, it's hard for them to see it. It's hard for them to see their own, they can't see themselves. You need people who see you, like really see you. I say that a lot. I'm like, I need people who can see me and affirm that I'm on the right path, not because they dictate where I go. Like, and if oh my gosh, if somebody doesn't tell me I'm doing great, then I'm paralyzed. Like, I don't feel like that, but there is something about when you start pushing on history, you're going to have even more questions in your mind of, am I doing the right thing? Am I cut out for this? Is this what my purpose is? You just need a couple people that can really see you and affirm that.
That's true. And then when you're on when you have a lot of different talents, It's a difficult thing to finally figure it out, like what you're supposed to do. And then you start out on that path and like, wait, well, I can do this and this and this too. So maybe I'll just pull out of this and do something else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where we're at sometimes because we have a lot of skills and then, you know, am I using them right? Am I doing everything I can do? Or, you know, this might fit me better, you know? So you always have those questions come up too, you
Yeah.
know?
And what a privilege those questions are, you know, to have so many gifts and then go, man, am I doing enough? Like my prayer is that the bulk of people at some time in the near future, that will be the mental struggles that they have is, I'm so gifted. Am I doing enough? What a cool world that will be, you
It
know?
will be. I also feel, and I discussed this yesterday, with I have quite a few shows. I have one every day, just about. Yeah, pretty much every day. So I was talking to the lady last night, and she was like, feels like this energy in 2020 is real kind of a real big bugger challenge type thing. And the first part of it so far has come in like a lion, in my opinion, you know, and it's dredging up all these things inside of us that we may not have the courage to face yet, but I do believe it's kind of a sifting through of all of the bad stuff and like gold bringing all the impurities out and then us becoming who we're meant to be and exploding in that and then later in this year. I really think that's what's going on.
I do too. I really do too. And a lot of people are on that same page. A lot of people have that same description of this year, and it's necessary. You know, it's necessary to have a moment of hopefully only a month of, you know, or maybe a week or so of, you know, really dealing with the tough stuff so that you can leave it behind and, you know,
Yeah,
make sure it doesn't get, and I think some things just you cannot explode into what is your destiny or what is your purpose in life with some things attached. You know,
right.
it will drag you down or it will prevent you from taking off. And I am definitely very vigilant in examining the things that, you know, personally, mentally, spiritually, all the stuff that could be, you know, kind of tagging along for the ride and they're not really part of the ride.
Yeah,
So
or something that scares you into being paralyzed and not being able to move forward.
Absolutely.
So yeah, those things to me, it's funny because everybody I talk to gives me the same feedback or they'll say it in a different way, but it's the same thing. It's funny how in tune entrepreneurs are these days.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's totally different than it had been before, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've changed a lot. Okay, so let you have the floor for just a little bit. Tell us what kind of coaching you offer or what products you offer, whatever you have. If you want to take the floor to let everyone know what those things are and how they get a hold of you, your time is now.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I do corporate wellness coaching as well as one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of performance coaching for executives, peak performers, people who don't want to lose themselves in the process of becoming more, but still want to really come home at the end of the day and offer their families, you know, a father and a husband, or, you know, a wife and a mother, you know, whatever they are in their personal life should not and does not need to suffer because of lofty goals. So I do a lot of that. And I also do speaking engagements, and I am available for all of those things, which easy to reach out to me on my website, which is wendymichelle.com, Wendy with an I, super easy. I have food brands coming out this year. I'm in the process of launching 4 of them. So those, I don't have exact store details. We're in negotiations at this very moment with national retailers. So it's not going to be like a small regional launch. We don't really know how to do things small. So we're really excited about it. It's going to be, there's 4 different products. There are 4 different companies, 4 different brands. One of them is a frozen pasta entree. One of them is a nacho cheese sauce. One of them is a frozen meal pocket. And one of them is a dip, like a snack dip. And they're all plant-based. I somehow just organically specialized in innovating plant-based foods way before plant-based was popular. So that's kind of fun timing. And so those, anybody who's following me on Instagram or is subscribed to my newsletters will get that information as soon as we have store information and availability. And they're all really good. So I'm really excited for people to have them. And yeah, and I have a book coming out this year on, it's my second book, and it's about the individualized diet. So what's the best diet for you? That one I'm actually launching uniquely. I'm doing some fun stuff that's more interactive because I really miss community in and around this electronic age. So I'm doing both. So I'm excited about that. And anybody, again, who's following me on any medium or platform will, we'll see when that launches. And my really, I think the project that I'm most excited about this year is a children's book that I'm actually, that I've
nice.
written and it will be fully illustrated. And it's, for kids to understand the power. It's kind of like a self-affirmation / education about how powerful their bodies are and,
Nice.
how cool, how cool they've been designed. So I'm really excited about that one.
That sounds really wonderful. It does. I mean,
just a few things.
I like that. You've done a little bit. No, just kidding.
Yeah, just have a few things going on.
You're not busy at all.
No.
So one last question, then we'll let you go for today. Give us just one thing, just anything you want to leave with this audience, anything that's really on your heart to tell everybody.
I think as it pertains to just the conversation that we've had today, I think it's just important for people to be excited, about what is in store. I feel like especially people who are entrepreneurs and have these great ideas, and they've put all of their money and all of their time and all of their resources and sacrificed a lot of things, and it hasn't moved the way that they pictured or imagined. It's sometimes really difficult to muster up the excitement that it all started with. And I'd like to encourage them to dig deep for that again, even if they have to lie to themselves for a minute, fake it till they make it. But just to just close their eyes and to remember what that felt like when the idea first came up, when they first thought, oh, that would be so cool if, and how I would do it is this, and this is what will look like. Like, go back to that original thought and not, and focus on that and not the things that have happened in the interim, and just be excited, be excited and full of joy.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, everybody, hit the subscribe button. We do have a new audio version coming out very, very soon. Well, as soon as I can upload all the stuff. But anyway, it was a pleasure to have you on today, Wendi, and I really appreciate you and your message and everything that you taught us today and told us today. Thank you very much. And everybody else, have a wonderful day.